Good morning, Softball America. It is Thursday, October 23rd. We are glad to be back. I remain busy with personal things, so I apologize for not having a show last week, but man, oh man, we are here and ready to go. Gray Robertson, Tara Henry, my friend, it is good to see you. You are looking radiant with the ring light working and on. How are things?
Good morning, Gray. Things are good. Great to see you. Great to see everybody. Again, let us know where you are tuning in from. And yeah, I can't wait to get into some softball. We've got lots to talk about. We've got a special guest today who will be joining us, I think, just right after practice, Carly Godwin from Oklahoma State. They're at practice right now, but she'll be jumping on. So if you have any questions for Carly, let us know. But yeah, good morning, everybody.
Yeah, hit us up in the chat. Tell us where you're listening from. Look, I am perfectly fine with people asking questions that we answer on this show. We've got some things we're going to get to. Tara has entered the fray. Her top 25 has entered the chat. I would love to dive into all of the reaction to a poll for a season that starts in 5 months, including a combo poll. I released so I did the math thing. You know, I averaged out me, you, and Brady's, and that got people in a real tizzy. Okay. We'll talk about that. And also, Tara, what should the people be doing on the socials, on the YouTube? What should they be doing right now?
Yeah, so if you're over on YouTube, make sure you like this video. And again, if you're over on X, you can give us a retweet or even a like over there. And then head on over to the site on3.com/softball and check out everything that's on the site. We're going to go through what's on there. Brady is just cranking out the team previews and learning a lot about what's going on with some teams across the country. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But again, let us know where you're tuning in from. I don't know if the chat's broken on your end, Gray, but my chat's not working.
I think we'll get there. We've got two that have come in. And so, yeah, pop it up. We'll put it on screen. Also, we will get a little bit deeper into the scoring section in the Rule Book Club because we covered just a little bit last time. Hopefully we can get a little bit more this time around. And last order of business. It was tweeted out by Brady, so we will publicly congratulate him on the birth of his second child.
Boston, welcome to the world. Brady, gosh, what a star. And Maddie, she's the real star.
Honestly.
Been up with Brady. And now there's two boys in the Vernon household. So again, congratulations to Maddie and Brady. So exciting.
Yeah, Brady sent me a picture yesterday, and I was like, oh, you got your hands full, big dog. Man, these kiddos are adorable. Baylor's going to be a great big brother. The chat, we've got Adventures in Pages saying good morning. Hello. I understand we're starting a little bit late. I had a Kentucky volleyball call earlier, so we are an hour later than normal. We've got at C Ogle 4OU. Good morning. Jeremy, as he always is, up in the chat, dropping a roll tide. Seogle 4OU watching from Norman. Thank you so much for tuning in with us. We want to hear more from everybody out there, so please hit us up in the chat. Tara, do you want to start with fall reports, or do you want to start with your way too early top 25?
Let's just go through the top 25. I think we can go through that, and we could chat about my top 25, your top 25, the comments that we received this week on our way too early top 25, and kind of go through a little bit of it and chat about what's going to happen here. And what did you say, 5 months?
Yeah, right? I mean, pretty much.
It's going to be here before we know it.
I want to ask you about your process before we dive into the actual rankings you put out, because I think, discussing with how Brady did it and the way that I did it, I'm going to go ahead and assume that all three of us had pretty similar in a way, but different parameters for how we were putting things together and the information that we used. So I'm curious what went into making the list and how you ordered teams and what information you took as we've gained more information since my poll came out, and what you kind of left for once we get to the season.
Well, first and foremost, it is fall, and I was reminded of that when I went out, and we'll chat about this in a second, went out to the Georgia Tech-Tennessee game at Tech, and I've got some thoughts on that. But I think for me, in looking at a preseason ranking, first and foremost, these rankings are purely for discussion and for us to sit back and take a look at a lineup and look who a team lost, who they added via transfers or freshmen, who some of them I've been able to see and watch play in travel ball and are now making that jump to Division I. But for me, pitching is always key, and it's going to be at the height of taking a look at a preseason poll. So anytime you have an elite arm or arms in the circle, that is going to bump you up in my preseason top 25. And when you take a look at Texas Tech and Texas, which I think there was some back and forth between even you, me, and Brady on it.
Yeah.
For me, Texas would be in that number one spot if they still had Steve Singleton as their coach. And that could mean nothing because Aaron Earlywine is now there and he's now their hitting coach. But for me, an offense has to get used to a new philosophy. And that is, for me, the real only reason that they're not in the number one spot. And I just think Jerry Glasgow and Texas Tech have not only have Nyjah Kennedy, but the addition of some All-Americans across the board there. Just for me, that's going to be a really tough team to play if they're able to play any tough competition outside of conference play, which we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I think what's so interesting is the way that we've all evaluated Texas Tech a little bit differently. You and Brady both had them number one. I had them number 3. I think a big reason for me was not even talent wise. I think Texas Tech has amassed talent in ways that we literally have not seen in college softball before. There are certainly positives to that. There are potential drawbacks to that. Stuff that we don't know. The thing about something happening that's never really happened before is we don't know what it's going to lead to. So it's hard for me personally to just go all in on paper when I'm spending the summer talking to kids from programs all across the country and hearing about what goes on in locker rooms and how important chemistry is, and the things about those programs that make them successful or make them unsuccessful. And I like to be a little bit more cautious in that regard with teams that focus on the portal, because we've seen it work 100%. We've also seen it flame out in situations. And it really just depends on how the coaching staff is able to coalesce talent. And with Texas, the reason I kept the number one, the Singleton point is huge. And that was not something we knew was happening when I put out my list when I first started working on it. However, that's a Texas team that brings back a lot of people. So they already have that team bond with so many returners. And, last year's team did pretty well based on what I remember from the Women's College World Series. So it was interesting to see kind of the way that we evaluated it. And honestly, it makes sense to me that when we averaged our 3 polls, those 2 teams were tied at the top. I think to your point in the article, you pointed out that it was a 1A, 1B situation. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think Oklahoma certainly has an argument to be a 1C in this discussion. But yeah, I think Texas and Texas Tech, it makes sense why those were the 2 teams that got our 3 respective first place votes in this. Again, super early, way too early top 25.
Yeah, I love how fired up people get about these polls. It's incredible. And, well, just the chatter on the actual post on social just cracks me up. But also, like, there's a part of me that I just love that. I love that softball fans are this passionate about the sport and love talking about the sport when we're 5 months away from opening day. But to your point, Gray, when I think that Texas Tech, when you talk about team chemistry, for me, Jerry Glasgow's just been able to do that. He did that at Louisiana, bringing in transfers, and now he just has the money to do it. And so not only does he have the ability to bring programs together with the way that he coaches, with the way his players play all out for him, but now he's got the money to back it. So for me, that's the recipe for success. And so right now, that's why Texas Tech is up there. Again, OU, it's so funny, Gray. I was looking back to do this top 25 and looking at OU's roster from a season ago, what they were able to accomplish and how Coach Gasso was able to bring those young ones along and get back to the Women's College World Series and make another run at it. Gosh, the youth on that roster is so scary, Gray.
And, it really is.
And when I'm not even talking about last year, I'm talking now, even in their recruiting class as well. And to see the freshman class coming in and they're going to, again, make an immediate impact there. I agree with you. I think Texas, and OU are all in that discussion.
I want to pop up Sam. I want to pop up the Sam in Greet.
Sam in Greet.
Hello, 6690. Did any other top teams not bring in transfers like FSU? We have a big freshman class. I wanted to use that question to spin it onto where you placed Florida State. This was a team that you had 8. Brady had them pretty high. You and I were fairly similar in our placement of the Noles. What did you make of that team that, lost at home to Supers? It was to Nyjah, but they lost at home in Supers last year.
Well, I was there, Gray, and Nyjah was lights out that weekend. I think that for me, Florida State, and then again, we'll get into Texas A&M here in a little bit. Sometimes you just pick the wrong weekend for either your bats to go cold or not to play your best ball. And for me, that was the case for both of those teams. And I like what Florida State is doing there. Obviously, I know Jazzy Francic really well in her ability to throw multiple pitches in different zones and different speeds. There's no question to me that they've got a pitching staff and even their freshmen coming in are going to make an impact. But losing Michaela Edenfield and Janai Kerr and Dak as well, I think that leadership piece is going to be difficult, but also I do think they've got the pieces to, again, put a really good squad together that obviously a heartbreaker losing to Texas Tech, but again, running into Nyjah is a real tough. And I think you look across the board and they draw a different squad. I think we're looking at something different.
Yeah, I think with FSU, to kind of get to the heart of the question itself, a lot of coaches rightfully bet on their recruiting class. I mean, you recruited the kids for a reason. You pick these kids to come to Florida State or to your school for a purpose, to fill a hole. And sometimes it makes a lot of sense to just buy into that and believe that. I think, we've seen other programs do that in the past. Georgia last year was not particularly aggressive in the portal outside of Randy Rolling because they had this freshman class coming in. They had a good class this upcoming year as well that they could truly believe in. They did dip into the portal a little bit more this offseason, but I think that we saw last year it worked to an extent with Georgia, but not quite the way that they had hoped. Florida State is clearly making that bet. They're trusting the freshmen. They're trusting a big junior class. And they're trusting that a lot of players who maybe had quote unquote off seasons in 2025, looking at Jay Beecham, who I love, who's an excellent player, are going to bounce back. Jay Beecham is not going to have another year like she did last year. I would bet the farm that she brings it at a different level this year and is right back to what she was doing as a freshman, or at least pretty close to it. So I think it makes a lot of sense why Florida State did that. And as coaches, that's a choice that you have to make. Are you going to bet on that freshman class to pay off, or are you a little concerned? Maybe some kids after they committed, got hurt or whatever, that you have to dip into the portal a little bit more. It's all a case by case basis, and in this case, it seems like I read that as confidence in the freshman class from Lonnie Alameda and that staff.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't forget about Issa Torres. Like you just mentioned, Jasoni Beecham. I think the left side of that infield, for them to be together, they can step into those leadership roles now. And again, their third year with Florida State. And I just think Lonnie does a nice job. I think last year was tough too, with her diagnosis. And I think that team is really strong and they stick together. So for me, Florida State, I've got my eye on them. And again, a lot of this starts in the circle. And then when you take a look at programs, it's, continually programs that are always in the top 10. And that's because when you've got great coaching, they always find a way to get the best out of their athletes. You
mentioned A&M a little bit earlier, and I see Annie's question. We'll get to Vitide in just a minute, but you were the highest on Texas A&M of me, Brady, and yourself. What went into the placement of the Aggies?
Well, it's actually more of a gut thing too, Gray. And I think as someone that knows, Trisha Ford quite well and that squad, I think when you lose in that manner, I think the drive and your work ethic and your purpose goes up a notch. And so, again, obviously losing Emily Kennedy is tough, but I think you've got so many tools there. And like I said, a coaching staff that knows how to get the best out of their athletes. And I truly believe that they just have a really great weekend. Like, I don't know if it was, the pressure gets to you or being that number one seed was a big deal, but I have a feeling that this team is going to be ready and raring to go. And they've got all the tools. And like I said, some great coaching. So for me, I wouldn't be surprised if they're in, top 8, top 5 first couple of weeks of the season.
Well, Trisha Ford and A&M do their best when people are doubting them. We have seen that for years. Last year, my point in the article was they were decidedly not the underdog as the 1 seed. And it seemed like they played a little tight. I do wonder, though, as great as Emily Kennedy was, and this is not a reflection on her as a player or her talent, it seemed like A&M's over-reliance on her in regionals hurt them. There were times we were watching those games, Tom and me in the radio booth going, why is she still in the game? Pull her. You've got a million other pitchers. Now, with this staff, will we see more of a mix and match and an even number of innings with maybe a go-to like a Sydney Peters or a Sydney Lessentine popping up here and there? But because there's not that over-reliance on an All-American, will A&M's whole pitching staff actually be a little bit better and more difficult to prepare for? I think that's a distinct possibility.
Oh, I think so. I think you hit the nail on the head, Gray. I think that's exactly what we saw. And again, we're going to see a pitching staff that's going to be used, and maybe there's an ace that emerges, and we'll see that. But I couldn't agree with you more. I think there was an over-reliance on Emily Kennedy, good or bad, right? Like, you're going to ride your ace. I know a lot of Sooner fans were wondering if Sam Landry was going to be it, and we had question marks about who was behind Sam Landry. It didn't even matter. It didn't really even matter who was behind Sam.
It all worked out.
It she got it done, right? Like, I remember that whole conversation that it didn't really matter. So, only time will tell, but I think it's great to discuss it. And, just outside of the top 10 for me with the Bruins, and that's just merely because of pitching. So I don't know if Taylor Tinsley's going to be able to carry that load. Obviously, with the loss of Addison Fisher and Caitlin Terry, I think that's going to be really tough. Now, is it going to work in the Big Ten? Maybe. But that's, for me, a question mark. I think if one of those two had stayed, they'd be, for me, top 5, top 6, because they got so many weapons on offense. And against a freshman class coming in, and Alina Garcia comes back at short, which was a huge loss for the Bruins a season ago. So just outside there of the top 10 is the Bruins for me.
Real quick, I'm going to flash a message from our pal Nick Torina. Hi, Nick. Do you want to talk about LSU? You had them at 14. We were all pretty similar-ish on LSU. I think it was Brady who had them a little bit lower than the two of us. We had them in the exact same spot at 14.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch the Tigers this year. Again, I think another team that's going to be hungry after the finish in regionals against Southeastern Louisiana. And I think, for me, I'm pretty high on the Tigers. And I think, obviously, going to the transfer portal, we talked about bringing in the transfer portal. They will have another recruiting class coming in. And I know that Bryce and Beth have hit the recruiting trail hard and have some young, talented players in the pipeline. So, for me, and obviously Peyton Monticelli heading over there from Oklahoma, I think she's going to help out. But Jaden Huebner, that lefty, I'm telling you, Gray, again, another elite arm in the circle. When she's on, it's pretty spectacular.
Thanks, Nick. I like to be the hunter to start the season. Thought it was very fair. We don't hear that a lot from people, so I appreciate that. I think with LSU, and I'm full disclosure, by the way, I should have said this up at top. Out of the box softball media days, it's coming early December. We have begun the interviews. We've got Coach Torina on the schedule. We'll be talking with her next week. I'm excited to dive into this pitching staff because you've got Huebner, who's lefty, high velo, a lot of up. You've got Cece Solura, who's low mid 60s, a lot of down, and then you've got Peyton Monticelli, who throws at 80 miles per hour, and who knows where it's going to go, but sometimes it's a darn good pitch. And when she, like you said, when she's on, she is very, very hard to time up and hit. So it's a staff where you've already got 3 arms that are pretty different. And that's going to be very, very tough for teams to prepare for. And then you add some bats like Charlotte Lorenz, who I really like. I want to see how LSU, replaces somebody like Danica Coffey, not just from a production standpoint, but from a leadership standpoint. She was so important to that program last year because she was kind of the grandmother. She'd been there forever. She was the true leader. She held down the left side of the infield so well. I want to see what that looks like. But yeah, with LSU, my questions are never about talent, ever. They will always be talented. It's about, can they sustain that from start to finish? Yeah,
I agree. So I think you and I probably want to agree. Other than LSU, I know you're I don't know where you had Alabama, but I know Annie, was it Annie that had a question about Alabama?
Yes. What do we think about Alabama? I had Alabama in my top 10 at number 6. You and Brady did not. Brady had them 12. You had them, let me pull up the tab. You had them 15. Where I'll ask you first, and then I'll give my reasoning.
First. You have them as highest. I want to hear why you have them so high.
Okay, well, a couple reasons. One, I really like Alabama's schedule, and at the time, I was privy to a lot of the SEC schedules. I think Alabama's schedule sets up for a very, very strong finish in the SEC standings, just purely based on who they don't play and where they do play certain teams. So that honestly was a factor into where I placed Alabama. I have watched these 2 freshmen pitchers, Vic Moten, Caitlin Pelosi, come in, and they already had a ton of hype. I'd heard more about them, or as much about them as I'd heard about Montana when she came. They're still learning. Vic is very much Alexis Osorio coded. she might walk 2, but she might strike out 3 in an inning. And Pelosi's got some really impressive weapons that I like. And I just think, like, I think certain programs that are in that upper tier of the sport, they're always going to find a way to get to a certain place, whether it be Oklahoma City, whether it be the top 10. You can make the same argument about Florida, Florida State, Oklahoma, Texas, Oklahoma State. We talk about the intangible all the time. I think that there are certain programs that just find a way to make it work. And I think that this Alabama team has got a core that really impresses me. The leadership is really, really good in the room with Marley Giles. Vibes are as high in the locker room as I can remember at this point in a year. Obviously, once season starts, you got to try and sustain that. But this has been a season that I have heard about for a few years now, one to point to, and I have not had any evidence presented to me that detracts from that belief inside the room and what I've seen with my own eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I think for you, obviously, being able to watch some of these pitchers in person, I think that's really important. For me, it's still a question mark, right? Like,
sure.
I think that's, tried and true. And again, when Brisky, I've seen Brisky throw incredibly, and then I've seen Brisky not. So for me, it's when I'm taking a look at a preseason poll, I do tend to lean more on a pitching staff. And for me, it's still question marks in the circle for the Tide, and that's why they're not in the top 10 for me. But they could easily jump there. I mean, there's something magical that happens at Rhodes. So like, I say what you want. Like, there's something magic that happens with that team nearly every year. And like you said, good teams know and good coaches know how to win. And I think Alabama has proven that. And Patrick Murphy has proven that it can be done there multiple ways. And Vandergriff is, to me, like, obviously, a huge fan.
I think people forget that she was a finalist for Freshman of the Year, because I saw one criticism that was like, Alabama doesn't have any stars. I disagree. Audrey Vandergriff
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, that's
so fun to watch. Oof. Just like watching her. I mean, obviously power, speed, and her ability to just swipe bags second and third. Like, she's just going to steal both bases. Like, reminds me of Bella Dayton a little bit, and having to face Bella Dayton. She gets on base, even you walk her, you're like, she's going to steal second, then she's going to steal third. You're like, what do I got to do here? It's like an automatic triple. So again, when offense has a dynamic athlete like that, for me, it's obviously been the offense as well. But I think we've seen a little bit of a turn there in the offense with Alabama.
Yeah, there was also a time right up until late April, early May, where Alabama's team batting average would have been top 3 in program history. So that people forget that piece as well.
I don't. I see it.
Yeah.
So it used to be. Not anymore.
I will add one thought, and then we can go into fall reports. And Carly Godwin from Oklahoma State will be joining us as well. Since you published the piece, I'm not sure when you started it, has there been anybody that you've thought about it more and you're like, maybe I was too low on them? Because I've got one with more information that we have gathered since I published
Georgia.
mine.
I think Georgia, depending upon how that bullpen comes together, I think they're going to be in a really good spot. And so for me, I think could have probably put Georgia up a little bit closer there in the top 10, and maybe Florida. Again, when you talk about programs, it's just like when you take a look at this top 25 now, it's so hard, Gray. And I think that's what's been so great about our sport as of late in the past couple years here is we're just seeing a lot more parity. And so, but we're seeing it through, in 4 through 15.
Yeah, I would say
it's hard.
The two for me, I would have put a lot more stock in Auburn. I feel like I undervalued them a little bit. I would probably have them in, if not higher.
Well, I had them in my top 25.
Yeah, I was the one who did not. Sorry. I would probably have them in. And I think Florida is a good one. I had put together what their conference slate was, and I kind of knew it would be on the winners side of the winners and losers article. I didn't know when everything was. I really like the structure of the Florida schedule and conference play. That's a way that everything is laid out where I think that they can finish top 3 in the league. And if they're top 3 in the league, they're probably not outside the top 10. So I would probably have Florida a little bit higher. Also, one more team, just to mention before we move on to fall reports. The love for Clemson and Nebraska from all 3 of us is fascinating.
I've always been on the Clemson train. Like, I think for years and years, you guys all know that. I've always been on the Clemson train. And I just think, again, Coach Rittman does a really nice job in getting his team prepared for May and potentially June, and just have been so close. And I know you agree here too, Gray, that there's just been so close there. And then, again, for me, Nebraska, having Jordy Ball in the circle and even at the plate. Like, if you look at those numbers, Gray, when going back again and taking a look at her offensive numbers, just insane. Just insane.
I want to see Jordy Ball pitch in their biggest games.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, last year, I know I said this when I released my poll. I'm going to say it again. Last year, I was very disappointed in when Jordy Ball was used in non-conference play. I think that's why Nebraska didn't host. And I would be shocked if Coach Revelle makes that same choice this year, especially with what we presume to be a pretty tough non-conference slate, considering the tournaments Nebraska's going to. So, yeah, I understand the Nebraska piece of it all. I believe I had them just outside the top 10. I think Clemson is ready. I think this could be the year where they make that jump. I really, really like the way they bounce back, because 2 years ago I watched a team that almost were like ready to get off a softball field, lose in the Tuscaloosa Regional, and then they lost a giant senior class, and the crew that came back probably should have made the World Series, but they were close, and they seem ready to make that jump this year. So I'm also a big believer in the Tigers.
Yeah, and I know I got some questions about having Tennessee at 5 from some people, and I was able to actually watch Tennessee. I watched the Georgia Tech Tennessee scrimmage. They had a doubleheader. It was 4-2 and 6-4, and actually, I was really impressed with Madeline Johnson, the JMU transfer, who's now at Georgia Tech. I think Aaron Dixon has done a really nice job with her. I spoke to her, and she's really working on locating her pitches and throwing them in different zones, and really being intentional with the off speed. But when you take a look at Tennessee, and if you've seen them this fall, Gray, they are so incredibly athletic and versatile. And you've got options, and Maddie Rutan, is that from EKU?
Rutan, officially. Yes.
Rutan, thank you. Maddie Rutan. I watched her, play in the infield and then jump in and pitch, and then, knock the ball over the arch. She hit a home run, I believe, last night. So for that versatility, then you've got Elsa Morrison, the freshman, who can play behind the plate and also play shortstop. Same thing with Clark. Arbery Barnhart, Ella Dodge, Mackenzie Butt. Everyone's like, oh, how are they going to be able to replace all these athletes that they lost? I know it's the fall, and I know it was 4-2 and 6-4 against Georgia Tech, but they're athletic, Gray, and they're physical. And again, I think a second year with Craig Snyder taking over the offense, I'm pretty high on the Tennessee Vols.
I think there are a lot of reasons to like Tennessee.
Yeah.
Carlin Pickens.
Oh, and Carlin Pickens.
Yeah. I think similar to Alabama and Florida, a schedule that is conducive to success in the SEC. I really like Tennessee's slate. I think that the pitching depth behind Carlin Pickens is huge. You look at the amount of arms. We talked to Coach Weekly about this in media days. That'll come out soon. I don't want to spoil the conversation, but she spoke a lot about the importance of limiting the innings of Pickens. She specifically referenced not letting Carlin get to 200 this year, and that means more on Sage Marjetko, more on Aaron Newer, who showed a lot in the World Series, more on these freshmen, and more on some of those versatile pieces like a Maddie Rutan that you talked about. My biggest question for Tennessee is, how do you replace 75% of your RBIs? That's the number. 75% of their RBIs are gone from last year. So who fills that void? Is it an Ella Dodge? Is it a Mackenzie Butt? where is it? I think that they can find a way to moneyball it. I'm not sure that this is a Tennessee team that's going to have 260-plus RBI players like last year, but they might have a ton over 30 and a bunch over 40. It might be a little bit more spread out as opposed to last year when it was really Taylor Pannell and Sophia Nugent doing the majority of the driving in runs.
Yeah, and Gray, again, this is fresh off my mind because I just watched them in that scrimmage, but at one point, I think it was 5 extra base hits in a row. And so when you've got an offense that can not only put the ball over the fence, but has those type of power numbers and extra base hits, that's a run. Like, it's a double, that's a run. And then a triple, and then a double. So you're just scoring at a higher rate than an offense that's more contact based. And that was the difference between Georgia Tech and Tennessee in that scrimmage, where Georgia Tech is a little bit more contact, played some small ball, capitalized, and they're always gritty. Like Lee Morales' teams, they're so gritty, they fight. But in terms of physicality, Tennessee, you just take a look on that field, and I can imagine Karen's going to be pretty happy with the squad that she's got this year.
I was going to ask you, when you go to fall ball, because again, we're in a results-oriented business. We're all trying to win and lose. I couldn't give less of a darn about the final score, about the result of a fall ball game. I'm watching for certain things, intangibles, style, stuff like that. What are you watching for when you go see these fall ball games?
Yeah, I mean, when you take a look at a fall ball, it's basically as a coach, you're trying to figure out, what your lineup's going to look like, who's going to deliver in pressure situations. For me, that's a huge thing. And I saw, Morrison they went into the 8th inning. It was supposed to only be 2 7-inning games, but they were tied. And so they went into extras, which, like it or not, that's what you want from your team. You want to see who's going to compete. You want to see who's going to step up. And, the score, it's not that big of a deal.
No.
I think getting pitchers in, like you said, Aaron Newer, she started for Tennessee, and then they brought Pickens in. So they did, I think it was like a 5 innings or 6, and then Carlin threw the middle 6, and then Aaron came back in, and then Maddie came in. So I think it's getting the work in and figuring out, who's going to go where. And the fall, you're also just like shaking off the cobwebs. It's been a while. So
you're trying people at new positions. I mean, there is no, Coach Murphy does this all the time. Like each half inning is a different defense, and you'll see certain kids come and pinch run 5 times in an inning. Like it's, you'll see somebody will get hit by a pitch and the coach will be like, no, come back. Try again. Like this, that's not how this at bat is ending. Fall ball is all about the learning and learning about your teams and what you see and what foundation is there. And that's always what I'm looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And tomorrow Auburn will be driving up to play Georgia Tech. So if anybody's around the Atlanta area, I think that'll be a good one as well. So I'll get to see the Auburn Tigers.
If I didn't have volleyball, I'd be there, but
it's all right. I'll be there. I'll let you know what happens.
Okay. Fill me in. Hey, let's talk about fall reports.
Mm-hmm.
So Brady is hard at work. This man, this father of 2, is out here putting together the pieces so that you, the fans at home, can be up to date. And even just the last couple of days, Notre Dame, Utah, Penn State, North Carolina, a team that we have talked a lot about, Michigan, Iowa State, more will be coming. What have you liked from what we've read in these pieces by Brady?
I know we've talked a lot about North Carolina, but I think we can start there. I think a huge transfer class and a big freshman class. And for me, I'm really excited to see how they do in the ACC. I know they're losing Kat. Oh gosh, I think back to the Heaters. It was the Heaters video with her practicing for Carlin Pickens.
Yes.
Well, I can't remember what something was. It wasn't Hunting Heaters. Oh, what was it? Anyways, I'm just really excited to see the Tar Heels and what they're able to do this season in the ACC. And then even Amy Hogue at Utah, her talking about the new pitching coach, Carl Golan, who's a men's fast pitch coach as well, and really focusing on, again, another pitching coach focusing on location and owning your best pitch and really taking in a bigger staff. But if you guys haven't gone onto the site, I encourage you to do so. We won't share everything on here because we want you to go and read the wonderful work of Brady Vernon, but just to get an idea of your teams and what you can expect. I think knowing what the freshman class looks like, that's why we have our recruiting rankings, so you can guys get excited about these athletes heading into college. So you can take a look at the fall or the previews and the recruiting rankings to see where your teams are at in the rankings.
Yeah, I want to shout out two things. The addition of Carl Golan is very, very important. I was very impressed by the way he handled all the junk at Iowa Live. It just felt like there was constant noise around that program after the drama of them letting go multiple people right as they were coming to Tuscaloosa. What an interesting broadcast that was. And him having to truly manage that situation essentially on his own and get Iowa closer to the tournament than they've been in years. He deserves a lot of credit for that. I think that there's an argument to be made that maybe he should have been more in the mix to get that job than he was, although I think the Hawkeyes made a good hire. But to add that element to a Utah team that's trying to bounce back from a really, really disappointing season is huge. And I can't wait to see what the youth can do. And then I love that I got to get out the magnifying glass, put on my Sherlock Holmes hat, grab the pipe, and find an answer about Bridget Nemeth. Because one of the biggest mysteries of 2025 was, where is Bridget Nemeth? We knew she was hurt, but timetables were scarce, and we really never knew when or if she was coming back. We now know from this fall report that they expect her back in 2026. We've seen what she can do with this Penn State program. She was one of the most electric arms in the Big Ten as a freshman. She got them to the NCAA tournament. It is hard not to be more excited about Penn State reading that news. Now, they do have some offensive pieces that they've got to fill. Brooke Clausewitz is outstanding, but they lost some other really important bats. But I read that and I was like, all right, Penn State, I'm encouraged again, because it was hard to really buy in last year when we didn't know what was going on with the pitching and where Bridget Nemeth was. Now we know she's back. It's going to be a much smoother trip, one would assume, as long as she stays healthy.
Yeah, and again, I think that was a huge question mark, and there's more in the fall or the preview. So head on over to take a look at what Brady's put together for Penn State. But they're great, and you're learning so much about these programs, and just getting a nice refresh to see who's got what. And I love the projected lineups piece too. I love that part of it. So good.
I'm impressed with the coaches who are like, yeah, here. Because, man, I also admire some of the coaches who are like, yeah, I don't know, there are like 3 people for this spot, which, we're all still learning. That's a piece of this. So, yeah, the 2026 previews, they're on the site, Softball America. I referenced the teams. Do we know who's coming up, or is Brady just cranking out and we'll see when it drops?
I do know what's coming up. I can find out in a second. I just when you're looking at these lineups, this is my notes from the scrimmage, and I took a photo of it because he's like, "Did you get lineups from?" I said, "No," but I wrote them all down for Brady so he can have an idea.
Oh, Nick. My biggest issue this season is how to get the Boudin egg rolls to Lexington. May need the Softball America private jet. I might need the Softball America private jet.
Do we have one of those?
I hope.
Oh.
Sponsors out there, we'd love to shout you out.
Speaking of sponsors, Gray.
Oh my goodness, is it time to mention our friends at Go Route?
Yes.
Well, this conversation about 2026 previews is brought to you by Go Route, the leaders in coach-to-player communication. Built by coaches for coaches, Go Route Diamond ensures that every pitch and play call you send is delivered clearly all season long. Visit GoRoute.com/softball. Again, that is Go Route, GoRoute.com/softball to learn more and build your custom package today.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool what their technology does. I just was on a call with them last week, and they updated all of their software so you can get pitch calls on there, and you can do offensive calls as well. So you can have all players on the field with that communication, and we're going to do some more fun stuff with them. So stay tuned for that. They've just been a great partner for us, and they're doing really great things and trying to make it better and listening to feedback. And so we're going to try and put together a really fun series, educational series.
Does this allow for Gray to do more softball things? Because my hitting video went over so well at the World Series.
Well, it depends. I don't know about your pitch calling capabilities.
That I can do. Listen to the radio broadcast.
So hopefully we can get a few of those pitch calling programs and just get into the minds of coaches and what and why they call.
Nick Torina, if we go the college game day route this season, celebrity guest pitchers each week. For reference, I'm a celebrity in my mind. One day it would be pretty cool if we, I am limited into where I can go on a game weekend.
Why?
Yeah, because I'm working with one specific team each Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the most part.
Maybe Nick can be my co-host.
I'm just saying, we do live close to each other, so we could bounce around and hit up a few places. I could be the Molly McGrath of wherever Alabama is and just update you on, and we could bring on, guests that are relevant to the schools. So that would be fun.
Pretty cool. I wish they would do a game day for softball.
Maybe one day.
Maybe we can get Nick. Maybe Nick, you can be my co-host when Gray's can't be there.
Let me tell you, if we have a Softball America private jet, we are doing game day. So
we don't have one of those.
No,
if anyone wants to loan it out.
Do you want to dive into the rule book club before Carly Godwin gets here?
Yeah, Carly, practice is running long, so I think Carly's still probably taking some swings on the field. So we might Carly might not be jumping on, but I'll keep everybody updated. She's probably she's dropping bombs there in Stillwater.
Look, hey, you do what you got to do. Nick is in. Let's get out our rule books. I still have not had the updated rule book sent. I haven't had any mention of a new rule book sent NCAA. I would love to have that.
Yeah, what's going on? Why isn't it? Oh, a couple quick updates. Just so everybody knows, Softball America, we are going to be at the Clearwater tournament in November. There's loads of travel ball teams that will be in Clearwater, so we will have a booth with our friends at TIY Hair Ties. I do have one, if you just give me 1 second.
Oh, I don't have one, but I would love to see what a hair tie.
So TIY Hair Ties. I've got all kinds of colors. So this is a muted one because normally I'm a neutral gal. But they will be with us down in Clearwater. So come by the booth. We'll have you there to take some photos and set up your player profiles for our Rivals site. So on3.com and Rivals join together. So all of our recruiting is on the Rivals site. So you'll be able to take your photo, get your profile uploaded, and then hopefully get a hair tie from TIY. And we're going to have a fun little backdrop and maybe even a scavenger hunt.
Oh.
So if you're going to be at that Clearwater tournament, come and find us. We'll have a tent there. I'll be there and can't wait to meet you all.
Yeah, that'd be fun. There's a lot going on before season starts. NFCA convention.
Oh, yeah, we'll be there too.
I may go, I may not. I need to see what my basketball schedule is like, but I would like to go. Also, the Alabama Christmas party is like the day before it starts. So lots to dive into. We'll see who my secret Santa is this year. If I get Murph, I will need ideas from everyone in the chat. Because I'm only
is he a hard
creative.
person to buy for?
Well, it's hard to buy something for somebody who, like, a lot of the gifts Murph has gotten over the years are super meaningful and emotional, and so I would want to follow that trend. Plus, there's not like a thing that I can buy for any sitting head coach that he or she probably doesn't already have. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll dive into that. Maybe I won't get Murph. Maybe I'll get someone from the ticket office. Who's to say? Let's get into the rule book club while we got a little bit of time. Last week, or 2 weeks ago rather, we talked about base hit versus not a hit. To hit or not to hit, that is the scoring question. Where would you like to go? You want fielder's choice? I'll let you drive the boat here, Tara. Which section do you want to get into today?
We can start with fielder's choice. I'm just pulling up my rule book because my printed edition was eaten by a dog named Miles.
He ate the rule book?
He has been like into that. He ate a book. I was reading this Italian Summer, and yeah, I don't know. He's into paper all of a sudden.
What a metaphor. Man, I wish you'd filmed that.
I should have taken a photo. It was like everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
He's normally pretty good.
What a meme. I mean, if any coach ever gets tossed, you could have just posted the picture of Miles eating the rule book.
But I don't have a picture of him eating it. I just have a picture of me getting to the house and the paper everywhere.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Note for next time. Just leave it out. See what he does. 14.6 in the rule book is fielder's choice. So, 14.6.1, 2A batter. Here we go. You ready?
Mm-hmm. I had all my notes on it too. I was like so bummed.
Yeah, well.
It's okay.
When a ground ball is put in play and any preceding base runner is out on the hit or would have been out had no error occurred. Fielder's choice.
It's
Boom.
Pretty simple.
When a ground ball is put in play and the initial lead runner is safe, but the batter would have been out had the initial play gone to first base. Fielder's choice. Improper one, but a fielder's choice. When a ground ball is put in play and any preceding base runner who is forced to advance is called out on an appeal for missing the first base to which they are advancing.
It's a bummer.
Fielder's choice, yeah.
Hit the bag.
When a base runner is checked and no throw or a late throw is made, but the base runner would have been out had the initial play gone to first base.
See, these are the ones when they put in the rule book where like that's a judgment call.
Yeah,
I don't love these.
There's no way to, like, I don't know. Some people are just fast.
Yeah, and some people aren't. We should race. We should give you like
I think we're good.
You got long legs.
That doesn't mean they move quickly. Golly. No.
Like Emily P-Dex doing the dunk tank, we should do like a
race.
A race.
Pole to pole.
Yeah.
Do I get like a head start like I'm racing the freeze?
Yeah.
At a Braves game?
We'll give you a head start. And I'll put the freeze costume on.
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine?
Go route. Hit us up. Get us a freeze costume. When the base runner interferes with a batted ball and the official scorer judges that the batter would have been put out but for the interference. These are written insanely sometimes. Yeah, I mean, it's sure. I feel like oftentimes we don't see that scored as fielder's choice because when you have to input it, it's oftentimes just put in as interference or out or whatever.
It should be a fielder's choice.
I mean, Stat Broadcast only has so many tabs. All right, to the base runner. When after reaching base safely, a batter earns extra bases because of a play on a preceding base runner.
Say that again?
Yeah, I'm confused. After reaching 14.6.2.1.
Okay, sorry.
When after reaching base safely, a batter earns extra bases because of a play on a preceding base runner.
Yeah, so like an overthrow maybe on a base runner at third and the runner at first advances to second.
Okay. I don't really know why that's in here, but
I don't know overthrow, but like you would advance on a throw when it's not an overthrow because that'd be an error, but fielder's choice.
Okay. I don't really know. I don't really know why that's in here. Honestly, a lot of these.
Haley, no, because sometimes the way the rules are written, I question if I actually know the rules.
Well, I read this last night and I'm reading it again. And I'm like, do I understand what I'm saying right now? 14.6.2.2. When other base runners advance while the catcher makes a play on the batter on a third strike. Fielder's choice. Interesting.
Wait, what is that one? That's not on the new rule book.
It's not?
14.6.
2-2.
Oh, no, yeah, it is. Okay. You're right. I just got skipped ahead. When other base runners advance while a catcher makes a play on the batter on a drop third strike. Yeah, that makes sense.
14.6.2.3. When a fielder makes a play on a base they thought the base runner was advancing to, but was wrong, and the batter runner would have been out if the fielder had made a play on them at first base. Sure.
I feel like some of these aren't scored as fielder's choices a lot of the time.
No.
If you're actually taking a look at this, like they're not. They're scored as a. I don't think they're scored as fielder's choices. I don't see fielder's choice a lot.
I mean, they're not really scored, honestly. It's more like advance to second. Like this.
Yeah.
Again, that's kind of how the computer works. 14.6.2.4. When a runner advances safely and another runner is put out in a rundown, safe because of an error, or credited with a stolen base. I feel like a lot of these are almost incomplete thoughts. You know? Like, I feel like I almost need to watch the play and get the context of the play to truly understand what some of these are talking about, because it's such a small piece to what's probably a pretty chaotic play. If any of these things are happening, that means a lot is going on from when the ball is in play to when the out is recorded or whatever.
Yep, last one.
When a base is gained by a runner who is allowed to advance because of defensive indifference. What? But that's not a thing. Or is it?
See rule 14.1.7.
Yes, we go to 14.14. No, actually, we'll go to 1.7 first.
Defensive indifference. You got it?
Yes. Scoring term to describe a lack of a defensive play on a runner running the bases after a batted ball, or a base runner attempting to steal a base after a pitch when the player's advance is perceived to have no bearing on which team wins the game. So,
note, this can only apply to the bottom half of the last inning.
Which doesn't happen for the most part. If
it could.
I guess if it's 16-2 and the home team has the 2, then I guess I could be like, they just let her go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, this is okay. I mean, one of the biggest differences between baseball and softball has always been that if they steal, they steal. And it's a stolen base, and defensive indifference, whether there's a throw or not, doesn't come into play. So it's fascinating to read that here and see that there is a scenario that will never happen where defensive indifference, because every coach would be like, "What? Why'd you take away a stolen base? Why'd you take one?" So that'll never come into play. But shout out.
It's in the rule book, though. I mean, Appendix G was never going to come into play until the World Series. How about, did you watch, oh gosh, it was a playoff game where Teoscar Hernandez was on, it was bases loaded, and he didn't tag up at.
I missed that live, but I read about it.
And the ball was not caught, but he thought it was. And it just, it's crazy to, it went off of his glove and hit the wall first, and then he caught it or something like that. Anyways, long story short, is a rule, obscure rules come out at the most crazy times and in the postseason, like we just saw with the Dodgers, and then obviously Tennessee, UCLA, and Appendix G. Like, everybody knows Appendix G now.
Yeah, it's true.
Everybody.
Another thing we talked about with Karen Weekly. Listen in December.
Awesome. I can't wait. Awesome. Well, I think Carly is still at practice, so she's probably going to have to join us hopefully maybe next week, or maybe we can get her on an interview today or tomorrow, and we can just put it up on the site.
I'm good
Sorry,
with
guys. Practice kind of takes precedence over us.
I understand.
Yeah.
Happens.
They had a fall ball game last night. I wanted to ask her about it.
Well, we'll get into that next time, including also next time, bunting.
Oh,
Sacrifice or not a sacrifice? We'll talk about that next time. I didn't realize we'd spend 30 minutes talking about a poll for a season in 5 months. But we've hit an hour, so
and nobody's really chatting in the chat, so figured
yeah. People are chill. It's a Thursday. Yeah. We're right in the middle of football season. Volleyball's ending, soccer's ending, and fall ball is just rocking and rolling. With fall, previews coming out again. We've got 5 or 6 out right now on the site, and more to come, Tara, from pretty much everybody. And unless they say no, which why would you say no? We're giving you publicity. Everybody will be featured.
Yeah, I've got a few interviews coming up here, so we'll be able to talk to some coaches. And it's fall. I can't wait. I can't wait for it to be winter, and then can't wait for season.
I know. It's not far away. We'd like to thank everybody for tuning in today.
Yeah. Do anything fun this weekend?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Calling volleyball a lot. Friday, Sunday, and then football post game. And I'm going to go to Rhodes, watch a little fall ball Saturday. I'll miss Friday. But yeah, just, you've got Auburn, Georgia Tech. What are you excited to see in that one?
I'm excited to see Auburn and see, the Malvos in year 2. I'm excited to see kind of what they put together, and obviously was able to watch Georgia Tech and see if that pitching staff can hold down Auburn's offense. But yeah, we'll go there Friday, and then again, football this weekend. That Softball America Fantasy Football League is ready and raring to go. I played Brady this week, actually.
Do you really?
Yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome. I know. We'll play them this week, and started playing tennis again too, so I'll play a little tennis.
Oh gosh, I played tennis at a wedding a couple weeks ago. My back still hasn't recovered.
Yeah, my arm's kind of sore. I haven't served in a while, and so yeah, cool. Well, hey everybody, have a great weekend.
Yeah, this has been fun. We'll see if anybody else wants to release a way too early top 25 for us to break down. Nicole, Sydney, Sierra, I don't know. Who wants to do it? We will allow it.
Grace?
I mean, let them
flow. Which reminds me, thank you for saying that. We are going to hire some junior reporters. So if you know somebody that loves softball, would like to do interviews, be out on the road, whether it's travel ball, college, or pro, we are looking for some more on-air, on-camera talent. So please have them contact us if they'd like to be a part of Softball America.
And one final note, Softball Media Days on the Out of the Box podcast feed coming in early December. I do not have exact dates because I do not announce those until we have confirmation of Zoom interviews with every coach. Been burned before. So we will make sure that we've got everybody scheduled, and then we will put out that date and make sure that all of you can hear what's up with all the SEC schools, plus our mystery 16th team. Who is it?
Mystery.
Yeah, the Vanderbilt slot. You don't. I'll tell you once we stop recording, which is now. For the great Tara Henry, I am Gray Robertson saying so long. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. We'll be back soon next week, the week after. Probably just going to keep on rocking all the way up until the start of the college softball season here on Good Morning Softball America. We'll catch you next time.